Hey friends, this is part 3 of my scholarship numerical reasoning series. Thank you so much for all your kind comments on the previous video. They've been very encouraging. Now, I have been working on new videos, but it's been so long since my last upload because my parents have been on my back about having too much device time. I'd really love to work on more videos, but I need your help. Anything you can do to help me get more subscribers means that I have something to show my parents that what I'm doing is helping people. I have sat a Year 7 scholarship test and received superiors, which are the top band, in all but written expression. I have also been accepted into Year 7 Selective Entry class, which is also known as SEAL class. So these questions are legitimate. I have sat tests like this. Let's go! Question 11. I stayed inside a shoe store for 184 minutes. What time did I leave if I entered at 12:43 p.m.? Okay, the first thing we're going to do is convert the 184 minutes to hours, because right here we have a time, which is in hours and minutes. So 184 minutes divided by the amount of minutes in an hour, which is 60, will give us this time in hours. And our answer is 3 hours and 4 minutes. So if the time when I entered was 12:43 p.m., then what time will it be in 3 hours and 4 minutes? Well, let's add them together. So 3 hours and 4 minutes. Now, if we add those together, then we get an answer of 15:47. But I thought hours only went up to 12 o'clock. And that's because this answer is in 24-hour time. So let's convert it back to 12-hour time. Okay, so the way we do that is we just subtract 12 from the hours. That's how we convert a 24-hour time to 12-hour time. So that gives us 3:47 p.m., which is the answer. Question 12. What fraction is halfway between 1/3 and 1/5? Okay, so to figure out this, we need to make the denominators equal, and then we can figure out what number is in between the numerators. So what's it called when we make the denominators equal? Well, this is the same as finding the lowest common multiple. But what is the lowest common multiple? Well, the lowest common multiple, as the name implies, is the lowest multiple of two numbers. For example, 4 and 20. The lowest common multiple of 4 and 20 is 20 because both numbers go into it. Like 4 goes into 25 times and 20 goes into 21 times. But if we have 4 and 7, then the lowest common multiple of that is 28 because that's the smallest number that both numbers will go into. And one thing with lowest common multiples is that you can only really have these two cases. It's either the lowest common multiple is the biggest number, or the lowest common multiple is the two numbers multiplied by each other. Let's get back to the question. Alright, so we need to find the lowest common multiple of these two denominators. So we have 3 and 5. The lowest common multiple of these two numbers will be 15, as 3 does not go into 5, which means both fractions will now be over 15. Now, we need to find out what the numerators will be. So what if we multiplied the 3 by in 1/3 to get 15? Well, we've multiplied it by 5. So if we multiply the numerator by 5, 1 times 5 is 5. So the first fraction is 5/15. And the second fraction, 1/5. How do we make that something over 15? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. So we have to multiply the numerator by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Right, so which fraction is halfway between these two numbers? Well, in between 5 and 3 is 4. So in the middle will be 4/15. So the fraction halfway between 1/3 and 1/5 is 4/15. And that cannot be simplified. Question 13. What is 9/11 of 88? Okay, so we can say 9/11 times 88/1. So any number divided by 1 is the same as that number, which is why 88/1 is the same as just 88. So we can combine these fractions using the fraction rule of a/b times c/d equals a times c over b times d. Now that's quite confusing, but basically what it means is if you have two fractions that have been multiplied, you can basically merge them together. So if we do that to our fraction, we get 9 times 88 over 11 times 1. So let's simplify that a little bit. So I just got rid of the times 1. So now what we can do is we can divide this 88 by the 11. So 88 divided by 11 is 8, which means that we have 9 times 8 divided by 1. And what we can do when we have over 1 is we can just cross it out completely. So now we have 9 times 8, which equals 72. So 9/11 of 88 is 72. Question 14. I earned $115 from work on Friday. My parents gave me $15 for doing chores. I spent 40% of the money that I earned. How much money did I save? Alright, let's figure out the total amount of money that they earned on Friday. So that would be 115 plus 15, which equals 130. Now, we need to figure out how much of that they saved. So if they spent 40%, then how much would they have saved? Since a whole number is 100%, and they spent 40%, we're going to subtract that from 100, which gives us 60%. So let's convert that to a fraction because this 130 is in whole numbers. So that gives us 6/10. Now, we're going to do 6/10 times by 130. Now, this is starting to look very similar to the previous question. So of course, we're going to make this 130 over 1, and we're going to combine the two fractions, which gives us 6 times 130 over 10. And if we divide the 130 by 10, that gives us 6 times 13 with over 1, which we can just ignore, which equals 78. So how much money did they save? $78. Question 15. I want to fence my garden. My garden is twice as long as it is wide. If I require exactly 36 meters of fence, how wide is my garden? Okay, so we know that a garden is sort of a rectangle shape because the length is double the width. Okay, so now, if the length is double the width, let's write out some numbers that are double each other. So I'll make a little table, so this side's the width, and this side's the length. So if the width was 1 meter, what would the length be? Well, because the length is double the width, it would be 1 times 2, which is 2. So if the width was 2, and the length would be 2 times 2, which is 4. And if the width was 3, the length would be 3 times 2, which is 6. So let's see if any of these cases match up. But wait, how do we actually find the perimeter from these numbers? The length plus the width times 2 equals the perimeter. So let's add another element to this table so that will tell us, well, that we can record the perimeter in. So P for perimeter. So let's put the width and lengths in. So 1 plus 2 equals 3, and if we multiply that by 2, we get 6. And that's not 36, is it? So we need to keep going. 2 plus 4 is 6, and if we multiply that by 2, we get 12. 3 plus 6 is 9, and 9 times 2 is 18. Now, instead of adding more numbers, we can actually look for a pattern, a relationship between the width and the perimeter. So what's the difference between the width and the perimeter? Like, is there a pattern in between the two? Well, 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18. So it looks like there's a pattern here, and that is that the width multiplied by 6 is the perimeter. So instead of writing out more cases, which will take up more time, what we can actually do is we can say, if the perimeter is 36 and the width times 6 is 36, how do we find out the width? Well, if the width times 6 is 36, that's the same as saying 36 divided by 6 is the width. And we know that 36 divided by 6 is 6, which means the width is 6 meters. And that brings us to the end of part 4. And as I mentioned before, anything you could do to help me gain subscribers would really be really helpful to me, because I can show my parents that what I'm doing is actually making a difference, and I'm not just sitting up in my room and playing games all day. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 4.